Hey, so in this video, I'm going to be kind of going over the changes I'm going to be making to this knife. This is a modification of this knife, except this is rounded, and I just don't like how this aesthetic works with the rounding. And so in this video, I'm going to kind of go over how we're changing that design and what we're doing with that, and the new design that I'm going to be using for the rounded feature. So everything's going to stay compatible with the Volt platform, which is what it is right now. I recently switched everything over to that. I'm still in early working on that, but everything seems to be compatible and working. And so we got the chamfer design, and you can see the slot works really well with the chamfer, and it's nice and grippy. Whereas the rounding, it doesn't flow the same. It feels weird. And so I want to play around with this design. I actually already have the design I'm going to be doing done. And so we're just going to kind of start machining that and see where it ends up for the first prototype of the new handles. Okay, so we're going to start with loading up the pallet. We got my stock that I use, and these kind of are, you can see the size difference. And so it's about as small as I can get away with consistently. And so these go on the pallet like this. And you make sure everything's nice and flat and it's not sitting on anything, or it's not sitting on top of the clamps. And then you go ahead and clamp everything down. I could probably get this automated a little faster with a with like an impact driver on a torque setting, but I found that I actually can't find the head size I need for this Allen wrench, and doing it by hand keeps me from stripping up my pallet, which would end up costing me more time than just tightening everything by hand pretty quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and get this tightened and then show you what's next. All right, now that we got these tightened down, they're not going anywhere. Pick up and shake the pallet and everything. Got to make sure these op2 holders are all the way down. I left them up from last time. And it probably doesn't matter if these are up, but I don't want to accidentally machine through these while moving over. So I just always make sure they're down. It's good practice. Okay, so now the pallet's loaded up. It's time to load it into the mill. I check these bottom ones to make sure there's not any air underneath them. And then I check this side to make sure everything's touching the pallet and it's nice and tight. And I make sure nothing's on the front sticking out, because any extra stock I have, I make sure sticks out this end, because I have it programmed to cut off extra. And that way I don't cause undue wear or damage to my cutting tools. And I know if there's gonna be any extra stock, it's gonna be back here and not up here. Okay, so now that everything's loaded and I got all the tools in there and I've got the program loaded, it's time to go ahead and run this. I'm gonna kind of skip through the machining process and maybe give you some mid-process updates. If you've watched my videos, you've seen a million time lapses of machining. So I'm just gonna skip through that and you can see the final product. While this is running, I wanna talk a little bit about what I've been working on for a little while. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably know most of this, but if you don't, go check me out there. YouTube is kind of just a side thing right now. So my main thing is I've been working on a folder. You can see this prototype versus this one. I have a video on making this one, so you can go check that out if you want to. But I'm working on this one. This is Magna Cut, and I much prefer that material, and I'm kind of just refining the process. I did a quick redesign, and so I have this now, which is much better. Another thing I've been working on is compatibility with all my stuff. So I can take, you know, one of these blades and put it on these handles and everything works together. I've been working on that. What you see here is some of the variations that you can build out. This is another design that's been kind of in the works. And then there's another blade shape that's coming in here, a kukri, which, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen. And so there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of stuff I've been working on. And you're going to continue to see a bunch of stuff here. You may have noticed my YouTube schedule hasn't been great, and that's just because YouTube videos take a lot of time to make, especially the style I've been making, which has been film it, voice over it, edit it, and it just takes a lot of time to do. 6-8 hours of editing per video, because I'm not particularly good at that. And so I'm going back and trying an easier form of video that's maybe shorter and more to the point, and hopefully a little more engaging and interesting, that give you guys better updates of what I'm doing, and I can make more of them, and they're just easier to make. Okay, quick mid-process update. It just machined the outline, so you can see it's a blank from here. And now we're gonna start doing some of the fun stuff, and so the next update will be where you start to see the design I chose and the pattern. Okay, here you can see the design starting to come together, if it'll focus. It's really shiny, so it's hard to film. I don't know, it's too shiny to film in this lighting. Okay, so op1 just got finished, and you can see some of the design here. It's kind of not great lighting for this, so I'll move it when it's finished. Okay, so I got the handles done, and you can see the pattern now with some better lighting. I'm gonna go ahead and press some pins in here and then throw them on a spare blade. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna be press fitting some pins, and basically what that entails is taking this handle and putting this pin in here. Now this hole is tight, and so the press fit go like this. You press it in, and you can see there's a bit sticking out of there, and there's some greeblies. You can see there's a bit sticking out of there and some greeblies in there. So then I'll switch it, and I'll make sure that the pin's in the same orientation so that this handle will mirror that. Like this. And I clean these bits, and then I grab a smaller thing, and you're gonna see how I do that. All right, so now I got a little nubbin that I'll use. The one I normally use, I can't find. It's basically like, wow, this is going great. Okay, I don't know why everything's breaking, but it is. And there's a camera in the way. So I just press that all the way down, and then I do the same thing with this one. Okay, so I figured out the problem I was having. Basically, it was that these holes are a little deeper, and so when I put the pivot in, it was bottoming out on the screw, and that's why I was getting really bad tolerances. And now this is covered in some gross oil that I'm not sure where exactly it came from. But here's the basic handle design. You can see it's pretty grippy, and the weight's about the same, but I reduced some weight from the back of the handles, which, in my opinion, really helps. These haven't been tumbled, so they're a little sharp still. But I really am liking the flipping of them. It's hard to convey over video, and tolerances aren't like great on here, so it's definitely a little weird. But yeah, I kind of like that. I think I'll definitely make some changes, but that's the basic idea of how I go through and prototype a new set of handles. It doesn't take that long. The whole process only took a couple hours, most of which was machine time. And so yeah, there we go. Kind of a quick look of the first prototype of these. Definitely some changes to come. But yeah, thanks for watching.